Hi, this is Samina Sheikh here, and with me today I have Sudha Kongara and Vikram Malhotra as they talk about Sarfira. So join me as I welcome both of them on Zoom.
Hi, Samina.
Lovely to have both of you on
Great
board.
to be here.
And it seems like you both are in a Sarfira mood completely to have Sarfira. Why such a title as compared to the Tamil movie?
So, this one, there is a dialogue in the film, A. And B, I just felt it. Like when we first did the readings in DU, I remember telling him, this has to be Sarfira. Because Captain Gopan is a crazy guy. He's a mad maverick, And he dreamt of things that we couldn't even think of at that point of time. And for all of that, he comes from a very humble background. He comes from, he's a school teacher's son. And he had nothing in his hands when he dreamt of starting the most expensive industry in the world, which is aviation. And he did it. So, I mean, he's genuinely, I think the world would look at him as a crazy person, somebody who doesn't stop. So that's how Sarfira.
And as we talk about, having Akshay Kumar on board, Vikram, I have to ask you as a producer, why were you banking on Akshay Kumar? Because, going by the Bollywood films he's done in the past, since few, years, it's not worked, at the box office. So was it like taking a risk of casting him?
It was the exact opposite of it for two simple reasons. The first time that Sudha and I spoke, Sudha was very clear that she wanted to do the Hindi adaptation only with Akshay. The second thing, this is my 7th film with Akshay. I don't know what trend you're talking about. I have a 100% success rate with him. Not just the films working commercially, but also being right up there in some of the most loved films, not just for him, but for Hindi cinema. I'm not a big believer of driving looking at the rearview mirror. I like to look at what's lying ahead. This is an actor who has a fan franchise built over 30 years. If I was to sit here and recount the work that stars, much loved stars like Akshay have to their credit, it would take us 3 times the designated time for this catch-up. It's just about having a good day at the office and having a bad day at the office. The analogy that I use is that every time a world champion batsman steps out to the crease, he doesn't come back scoring 100. Sometimes he makes an error. Sometimes the other guy does a great job with the ball. Sometimes it's just things not adding up. But that doesn't take away from the legend that gets created across a career. So not only was he our only choice, but the feedback that we've gotten from everyone who's seen the film all through the last few weeks has been there could have been no one else. So frankly, the last few films are never a consideration for me in looking at anyone to headline a film, let alone someone with whom I shared this kind of a track record. Everything else was trumped by the fact that the storyteller saw that man as Veer Matre.
From not even having a good equation when it started off, with Akshay, to doing the Titanic pose, you both have come a long way in this entire journey, I must say that.
Only 6 days was bad. Because 6 days was like, I think he was like saying, what is she trying to do? She's cramping my style. She's like, oh no, Suriya is the Amir Khan of the South. I have a different method of working. Don't do this to me. Then I realized I was at fault too. So I changed my process a little bit, and he sat me down one day. I was like, we were shooting something on the 7th day, and he came and he sat and he said, I have my own process, but for this film, I'm trying to get into your head and see what is it that you want out of me. I mean, that's fantastic for a person who's worked for 30 years in the industry and done 150 films to sit down and say, so there is something you want. Let me see. Where is the friction? I gave in some, he gave in some. After that, it was like a ball. It was fabulous.
And not good equation, honestly, is a little harsh because the two of them always got along like a house on fire from the first time that they met. The first 6 days, as Sudha is saying, was more about knowing each other and the process of working, and I was right there and I would see it, and the two are so alike. They're so committed to their work, Sudha and Akshay, that they had a point of view, and that's the best situation to be in because then what you're getting is the best of both points of views. And somewhere towards the next week of the film, the kind of laughter that was there on the set, the kind of conversations the two of them were having, sometimes many of us would just shut our ears and go away from there at the extent of fun they were having doing what they were doing. So it to me was just sort of figuring out how to go ahead on this journey.
Yeah. And I must compliment you that you really have some like good convincing power, because you made him convinced, you know, to go beyond 8 hours, which is unlike Akshay Kumar. He did that only for this movie.
So many days he's finished his portions in 4 hours and 5 hours. So then I would tell him, there was just one day when I wanted him to go beyond 8 hours, because we're finishing the schedule, wrapping up the film. So I'm going there with my first AD. So, you know, just, 15 minutes more, half an hour more. So saying no, just like that. But he is like, no, I don't work. You know that. So I said, my first AD, what will left you go so many days at 5 hours, 4 hours, and sometimes even in 2 hours, sir. So he said, yeah, is that my fault? I gave you the 8 hours. Yeah. You didn't use it. So he used to do that kind of thing. But then the man was there the next morning. He had to finish, go to Panchkani. Not Panchkani, right?
Yeah,
Panchkani, and then come back in the morning and shoot at 6 in the morning. And he was shooting till 12, goes there, hardly sleeps 2 hours, and he comes back. We didn't expect it, but he did it. For this film, he did it.
Too much gets, like I'm saying, I speak out of personal experience. 7 films over the last 14 years. Too much gets made out of this 8 hours. Hear it from me. I'm giving you the truth that people only take one side of. Too much gets made out of 8-hour deadlines. Too much gets made out of few number of days. It has never happened with me. There has never been a situation that we've needed to go beyond and there's been an issue. Films like Sarfira and Ram Setu and Toilet Ek Prem Katha, they're not films you can pull off airlift. They're not films you can pull off in like the back of somewhere in a small number of days. Just the number of locations.
53.
53 locations, not one day at a set. Not one thing that you see in Sarfira is shot on a set. The man, one of the most recognized faces across India, the world, has shot at crowded railway stations, places of national interest, which just get thousands of people in a matter of seconds. There's never been anything like that. I just feel that the efficiency or the optimizing of time that an Akshay brings to his films, the manner in which that is discussed takes away the attention from what he's actually doing with it. Look at what Sudha just said. There's an actor who you have for a day, and if he's finishing his work in 4 hours, that's efficiency in any book.
Yeah, and I don't want him on the sets after that. Please.
And this is
you know?
and
so it's lovely.
Sudha, and I promise you, Sudha.
He's very particular about his, sleep, and
he should
it's
be.
very,
as everyone should be actually, not just him.
He tells me why I'm so stressed. He tells me, Arey, you need to eat properly, you need to do this. What I'm trying to tell you is those 8 hours, it gives you a sense of discipline and focus for the entire unit. That, they just don't faff, first off. They know this is serious business. We're paying him big bucks. You get your shit together and work at it, It's like, somebody who's worked with film. Like I've worked with film and then I come to do digital. So what happens? The first thing you learn is, film is so expensive. You don't go around throwing film. But what I see is people who started with digital, they're taking and reams of takes. So you get that discipline there. And that's exactly what happens with an Akshay being on set. You get the discipline from him.
Yeah. And as we also talk about the movie, it's a remake of a South movie. What made you remake a movie like this? You have remade the other movie also, which was Guru, which was presented to us. You have worked with Mani Ratnam in this one. And why you remade this one?
So this was, as I always felt, it was a pan-Indian film. See, the thing is, when I first came across this story, I was really a nobody with a failure to boot. So then I had the story and I was just hoping and praying nobody else would find that story. And then I gave my first big success in Tamil. And within 7 days, I had managed to get to this gentleman and get the story. you know. So to me, what I'm saying is like, it's so important to tell this story for me in any language. It didn't matter to me. So that's how I go to him and I convince him. And convincing Captain Gopinath is not easy. He's, like he said, he saw the same kind of passion and madness that he has in me, that within 7 minutes, he says, okay, I'm taking a leap of faith, take it. How do you do that? So it's only after a success I go to it. When I first went to him, I didn't even have an option. I didn't, like when I first spotted the story, I didn't have the option of making it. Then I go get him. Even at that point of time, I don't think I had access to making it in Hindi. So then I do it smaller in Tamil and everything. And then I'm itching to do it in, actually because of COVID and it coming in OTT, there was never any closure. But still I wasn't willing to work with any other actor, just do it for the sake of doing it. I wanted somebody, I wanted to cast against Green in that sense. I wanted to cast a really big actor and make him vulnerable. To me that was the challenge. And this gentleman just rose up the task so well. So that was it. And doing the remake, now again, where does your excitement come when you're doing the remake? Like when I did my earlier film, it was the money. Because I wasn't paid anything because I just delivered a flop. So the second time around when I'm doing the Telugu film, I got paid. Good. Here it wasn't that. It was that I just wanted to see it in the theatres. That just became an obsession with me, A. B, I believe it is a Hindi film, and I had come March 19th to Bombay. March 22nd was lockdown in 2020, right? And I had come to show it to somebody who I really love, Rajkumar Hirani, and he saw it and he was like, he really loved it. He said, this is fantastic, and he said, you know, this should be made in Hindi. So I'm like, yeah, and this is from a man. I remember we were discussing at the time of Iriji Sutru Sala Kadus, his story next was Sanju. And my story was this. I was telling him I want to do this, and he was telling me that. And I dissed his idea so much, and he dissed mine. Arey, Sudha, what is this? And to have that gentleman saying, like, you know, this needs to be made in Hindi, and I'm going to do whatever I can, whichever actor you want, whoever you want, let's do it together. And then, of course, it just shifted, and they came on board. They saw the film a week after they reached out to us, and it happened. And I think it has to be told in a language that, not language, in a form that can be consumed by many youth of India.
It was also a recasting of Paresh Rawal for this one.
Yeah.
And as we talk about him, he has a long association with Akshay also, you know.
Yeah.
Like they are like friends, I must say that.
Yeah.
21 years of working together, you know, in different movies, and we have seen them in Hera Fairy. So we know how the chemistry evolves.
Yeah.
But at the same time, this one is quite a serious subject also, because it's about a journey of a man who's been through that, you know.
Yeah.
So how was it, you know, for you?
With these two gentlemen?
Yes.
Oh my God, they're mad. I mean, this such fantastic talent. You know, actually, acting is all about reacting. So when you have somebody like Paresh Rawal here, Akshay Sir is on his guard. 2000% more focused. And so is this gentleman. He knows he'll eat him up for breakfast if he just lets it go. So it's like two powerhouses, and it's fabulous for the director. You just sit and you just watch, and they're doing the thing. So that's lovely. Yeah. And I can't think of anybody else doing that role. Like I said, Paresh Rawal is...
Yeah. And as we talk about Suriya versus Akshay Kumar, what differences do you see in both the actors, and what similarities have you noticed as a director?
Similarity is they are focused. You cannot... I think they are where they are because of the focus and hard work. Both of them work very hard to remain the way they're physically or, you know, mentally, and they're not distracted. Even for a moment, I have not seen Akshay Sir getting distracted on his shot. He tries to distract others who are giving their shot, and he loves to do that, and he tried his best with Radhika, but it didn't happen, and he actually came and told him, he said, Arey, I'm trying so hard to distract her, she's just not getting distracted. This was in the song sequence, you know, the first song. And Suriya doesn't, you know, he's a little more reserved and all that, but again, it's the same commitment. He's also been in the industry for 25-30 years. It's the same thing for both these gentlemen. They are where they are because every movie is a new movie for them, is a first film for them. I see Suriya coming on my sets totally nervous. I see Akshay Sir hiding the nervousness, but I think he was also like trying to find his place.
The curiosity on wanting to learn this. I remember the kind of in-depth conversations we would have in the script readings. about why this, how did the price get lower, who was he, what was he doing. I think that curiosity for someone's 150th film is, like she said, it's like the same it would be for the first film. So that was, I guess, to begin with, amazing for her, and then certainly for us, you know, in terms of putting it all together.
And as a producer, I would like to ask this, you know, before we also wrap this interview, I have to ask you this question, that off late, a lot of budget conversation is happening around the actors, wherein, you know, actors have, you know, especially A-listers, they have their own, you know, set of demands and securities or whatever they want on the set, versus the budget what, you know, the producers and directors are trying to control. Was it difficult for you also, you know, when Akshay was on board, because he's an A-lister eventually, and, you know, he has his own stake in the market?
To begin with, having an appropriate and optimum budget for a film should never be prefaced with off late this has started happening or that it is a recent trend. It should always be the case. We should always optimize our costs. We should try and keep our budget the lowest, irrespective of whether whatever alphabet list of actor arrives to do the film. You'll be surprised to know that actually it is the costs that are attributed to the things that you are talking about are the easiest to control. They are the ones where you have conversations, and nobody, I don't think there is any talent in front of the camera or behind the camera, if you sit them down and align them to the larger purpose of the film, are going to say, no, I demand that I am going to need this. If there are people like that, you better look for options. In our case, in Abundancia's case, definitely for something as large as Sarfira, we are very clear that everything that needs to go into the making of the film to the director's vision and satisfaction will be given. If it is an actor of a certain caliber that's required, that's there. Akshay is not just a producer on the film, but he is also someone who's been extremely supportive in all the films that we've done together, because he takes the cost hit off us when he becomes a producer and takes up a stake in the well-being of the film. Outside of that, like I said, there are areas of rationalizing which should always be conversations. Whether it's a good time for the industry or a bad time for the industry, we must always endeavor to make our films in the best budget possible. If you have the right intent in mind, it all falls in place correctly. I don't think I have ever had any crazy demands on Sarfira or anywhere else which have not been commensurate with what we need to do for the film. And that to me is really how we address all issues concerning budgets and revenues.
And what are your upcoming projects after Sarfira, or are you like completely focused on Sarfira?
I am that, but also working on something in Tamil.
But what about like getting more in Bollywood, exploring over here in Bollywood, in terms of actors, who's next for you in Bollywood?
I don't know. I mean, I have to be employed.
Anyone in your, like, you know, you would like to cast? Anyone you would like to cast?
So I'm this die-hard fan of, again and again I say it, Shah Rukh, Amitabh, Ranbir.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And many others. Like, I love Vijay Varma, you know, and I love, I love so many of them. I want to work with all of them.
Well, lovely chatting with both of you. Thank you so much for your lovely time, and all the very best.